They have absolutely no evidence, but it's not even a question of evidence. We did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing. There's no misdemeanor. There was no anything. Everything that we did was 100% right. What he did,
they do say,
right. You know, he's a convicted liar. He's
right.
a convicted felon, and they're using him.
There you have it. Donald Trump speaking to our Rob Schmidt in an exclusive interview yesterday regarding the Manhattan District Attorney investigating the former president, saying they have absolutely no case against him, not even a misdemeanor. Now we're going to talk to legal legend Professor Alan Dershowitz. He told Newsmax this week that Bragg is likely having second thoughts about his criminal case against Trump. The reason for those second thoughts? A February 8th, 2018 letter from Michael Cohen's attorney to the Federal Elections Committee. The letter states neither the Trump organization nor the Trump campaign was party to the transaction with Ms. Clifford, that's Stormy Daniels, and neither reimbursed Mr. Cohen for the payment directly or indirectly. Clearly, this is a smoking gun and could be a major blow to Bragg's case. Let's go to Harvard Law School professor and author of the new book, Get Trump, Professor Alan Dershowitz. You had a couple of decades, right? Well, how many decades did you teach at Harvard Law School, sir?
5
decades. So
if
you had one of your students come forward to you and say, here, professor, this is what I'm going to do to this case. I'm going to take this little misdemeanor thing, this filing, and I'm going to jimmy it up, and I'm going to make it into a felon for a former president. What would you have said to that student?
I think you should go to divinity school instead of law school. You don't understand the difference between sin and crime. There is no crime here, and there is no basis for going forward. I'm an expert in legal ethics. I taught legal ethics for 35 years at Harvard, taught many of our current judges, prosecutors, etc. If Bragg were to call me or write to me and say, am I legally entitled to bring this case now using Michael Cohen, I would write him a legal letter saying, no, if you use Cohen now, you subject yourself to disbarment, because no prosecutor is entitled to put on a witness unless they can vouch for the truth of what they are saying. And no prosecutor, looking at the entire record of Michael Cohen, what he said to his lawyers, what he said to other people, can honestly say that we know that Michael Cohen will tell the truth now. He's been lying all this time. He lied to the federal government. He lied to Congress. He lied to his lawyers. He lied. But now that I'm the prosecutor, I've turned him around, made him reform and rehabilitate, and now you can be sure that he's telling the truth. That just doesn't work. And I don't think Bragg is entitled, as a matter of legal ethics, to put Cohen on the witness stand. Look, in my book, Get Trump, which, by the way, President Trump just endorsed. I have to read you a funny statement that he made. He put it on his social media. He says, Alan enjoys saying, I didn't vote for Trump. I believe he probably did. I believe he probably did. He just uses that phrase for added credibility, but it doesn't matter. He's a brilliant guy who wrote a very important and special book called Get Trump. And by the way, that book is now an Amazon bestseller. And the best way of sending a message to District Attorney Bragg is to keep my book a bestseller. Buy my book. My book is a protest against what Bragg is doing, and it sends him a message. It says, you're accountable. History will hold you accountable. Books are being written about you. Are you going to want to look your children and grandchildren in the face and say, I was part of this legal McCarthyism that destroyed the law, that allowed the targeting of individuals, that adopted a Banana Republic Stalin-esque approach to show me the man and I'll find you the crime? No, that's not the American way. And by the way, the title Get Trump is not original with me. I got it from the Attorney General of New York. She campaigned on the promise of, I will get Trump. Get Trump was her campaign slogan.
And since 2019, you also have Alvin Bragg saying that he wanted to get Trump. Right. So let me ask you this, Professor Dershowitz, based on what you're seeing of the case, should DA Bragg be charged with prosecutorial misconduct?
Not yet. Not yet. Let's see what he does. There are pressures within his office now, smarter people, wiser people, more experienced people saying to him, wait a minute, this is not the right case. I think there are Democrats saying to him, well, why don't we wait till we see what happens in Georgia and in Washington and in Florida? but don't bring the weakest case first. Look, there may be advantages to Trump to having this case tried first. President Trump called me yesterday to tell me that he was going to endorse my book, which I appreciated very much. And I said, I have a suggestion. Why don't you invest in T-shirt companies that will make your mugshot, if you have a mugshot, the best-selling T-shirt in the country. You all remember when Frank Sinatra had a mugshot. That became a poster in every college kid's dorm room and became a famous T-shirt. If there is a mugshot of Donald Trump or a perp walk shot of Donald Trump, that will become his campaign poster. And that will be on T-shirts, thousands and thousands of T-shirts around America. So I don't know whether it will help him or hurt him. I don't blame him for saying he doesn't want that to happen to him. Nobody wants to be arrested in perp walk. But in the end, somebody wrote me a letter recently saying I was planning to vote for DeSantis, but now I'm going to vote for Trump as a protest against Bragg. So this could backfire.
Absolutely. So Michael Avenatti, which was Stormy Daniels' former attorney, and if you remember, at one point, the Democrats wanted him to run for president. He tweeted from prison saying that this case was not strong enough on the word of Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels. And in addition to that, of course, we have the letter from Cohen's former attorney, and then Cohen's former legal advisor, Bob Costello, was brought in to testify on Monday on behalf of Trump's attorneys in an effort to contradict Cohen's grand jury testimony. And Costello, in no uncertain terms, backed up what the letter to the FEC stated.
So Michael Cohen decided on his own, that's what he told us, on his own, to see if he could take care of this. So he sat with the lawyer for Stormy Daniels. They negotiated a non-disclosure agreement for $130,000. So I said, Michael, where did you get the $130,000? Is that Trump's money? No, it's not. Well, where did you get it? Did you take it out of your own account? No. Again, how did you get it? I took out a HELOC loan for $130,000. I said, why would you do that? He said, because I wanted to keep this secret.
Do you think Costello blew up that case?
Look, I think he may very well have blown up that case. If I'm a grand juror, an honest grand juror, I say to myself, why didn't Bragg bring Costello into the room? Why did he come on his own? Number one, why did you hide 300 emails from Costello? What are you trying to put the wool over our eyes? Why don't you tell us the whole truth? Why don't you give us all the evidence? We're a grand jury. We're supposed to be protective of defendants' rights. Instead, grand juries today are used as efforts to weaponize the criminal justice system, and they almost always come to prosecution verdicts. But this case may be different. If I'm a grand juror in this case, and New Yorkers can be very shrewd and very smart and very contentious, I say to Bragg, why? Why didn't you give me all the evidence? Why at the last minute does Costello come forward on his own and demand being given an opportunity to speak in front of the grand jury? You are not being an honest prosecutor, and we're not going to listen to you. That would be the smart thing and the best thing that ever happened to our grand jury system. It would return it to what the framers of our Constitution wanted it to be, a protection for defendant, not a plaything for prosecutors who could indict a ham sandwich.
Professor Dershowitz, out of time, 20 seconds. If DA Bragg called you up and said, Professor Dershowitz, what should I do? What would you say to him?
Read my book, number one. Look at this thing in context. Number two, read the rules of legal ethics and look yourself in the mirror and say, can I really represent to this jury and to all Americans that I believe that Michael Cohen will be telling the truth when he appears before a petty jury? And the answer to that question is absolutely no. So I would recommend that he drop the case, and I would hope he would accept my recommendation.
There you have it. Professor Alan Dershowitz, thank you so much, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Straight ahead, President Trump he's holding a major rally in Waco, Texas, and our coverage starts at 4 p.m. Eastern right here on Newsmax. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back.